Hello everyone. In this video we will discuss pigeonhole principle. Pigeonhole principle, this is a very well-known combinatorial principle that can be used to solve a variety of interesting problems, often with surprising conclusions. This principle is known under a variety of names. For example, the Dirichlet drawer principle, the shoebox principle, and the most common name is pigeonhole principle. So firstly we will state this pigeonhole principle and then find some applications of this principle. So the simple form of pigeonhole principle, firstly simple form. This principle says if n plus 1 objects are distributed into n boxes, then at least one box contains 2 or more of the objects. Actually, roughly if we say this principle about pigeonholes, then we say that if a lot of pigeons fly into not too many pigeonholes, then at least one pigeonhole will be occupied by 2 or more pigeons. For example, if we are saying that we have lesser number of pigeonholes than the pigeons, we have a lot of pigeons which are flying into lesser number of pigeonholes, then at least one hole contains more than one pigeons. So this pigeonhole principle says if n plus 1 objects are distributed into n boxes, then at least one box contains 2 or more of the objects. So we can prove this result by contradiction. To prove, let us assume that each of the n boxes contains at most one of the objects. We assume that if each of the n boxes contains at most one of the objects, then the total number of objects which are contained in these n boxes, that will be at most n. If each box contains at the most one object, then n boxes will contain at the most n objects. But we have to distribute n plus 1 objects. So some box contains at least 2 of the objects. So that completes the proof of this principle. Now this principle, this gives the proof that we can find a box that contains 2 or more objects. This principle simply asserts that if we examine each of the boxes, then we will find a box which contains more than one object. But this principle does not guarantee that this principle does not say which box contains more than one object. This principle gives the guarantee of existence of such a box, but it does not tells us which box contains 2 or more objects. So whenever we have to prove the existence of some arrangement or some phenomena, then we apply pigeonhole principle, because it guarantees the existence of such a box which contains more than one object, but it does not tell us the information about which box contains more than one object. But if we have to construct the arrangement or find an instance of the phenomena, then we cannot apply this pigeonhole principle. So pigeonhole principle is applied to prove just the existence of an arrangement, but it does not give indication of how to construct the arrangement or find an instance of that arrangement. Also, the pigeonhole principle, conclusion of pigeonhole principle cannot be guaranteed if there are only n or fewer objects. So in this principle, we have assumed that there are n plus 1 objects which are distributed among n boxes. So there exists a box which contains more than one object. So this conclusion that some box contains more than one object, that cannot be guaranteed if we have only n objects or fewer than n objects. This is because in that case we may put a different object in each of the n boxes. And secondly, it is possible to distribute as few as 2 objects among the boxes in such a way that a box contains 2 objects. But there is no guarantee that a box will contain 2 or more objects unless we distribute at least n plus 1 objects. If we distribute n objects or lesser than n objects, then there is no guarantee that a box will contain 2 or more objects. So pigeonhole principle asserts that there are n plus 1 objects which are to distribute among n boxes, so that we can avoid putting we cannot avoid putting 2 objects in the same box. So now let us think it differently. Let us think of coloring each object with one of n colors. Let us say we have n different colors and we have n plus 1 objects. We have to color each of the object from one of those colors, one of those n colors. So if we have only n colors and we have to color n plus 1 objects, then we have at least 2 objects having the same color. So let us find out some application of this principle. The first very simple application of this is among 13 people, there are 2 who have their birthdays in the same month. Let us assume there are 13 people. And since we know there are 12 months in a year, so at least 2 of those people have birthday in the same month. Among 13 people, there are at least 2 who have their birthdays in the same month. So this is very simple application. Now we have application 2. Again, this is a very simple application. If we have n married couples, then how many of those 2n people must be selected to guarantee that a married couple has been selected? There are n married couples. So if we have n married couples, that means 2n peoples in total. So we have to find the number out of those 2n people to guarantee that a married couple has been selected. If we have to select some number of people out of those 2n people, then which number guarantees that a married couple has been selected? So let us apply this principle to find out that number. Now think of n boxes. Let us consider each box corresponds to each of the n couples. Pigeonhole principle says if we have n plus 1 or more than n objects to be put in n boxes, then there exists at least one box which contains 2 or more objects. So let us consider that one box corresponding to one married couple. So each n boxes, they correspond to each of the n couples. Now if we select n plus 1 people out of those 2n people and put each of them in the box corresponding to the couple which they belong, then some box contains at least 2 people because of this principle. If we select n plus 1 people out of those 2n people and put them into the box where they belong, because each box corresponds to each couple, then at least one box contains 2 people. That means we have selected a married couple. So if we select n plus 1 people, so out of those n plus 1 people, we can say that one married couple is guaranteed selected. Now let us talk that we have selected n people. Then this may be possible that we have selected n people and those n peoples are from different n couples. There is no couple in those n people. Or we can say it differently. Let us think about n boxes, and out of those n married couples, n are husbands, n are wives. Let us put all the husbands into n boxes. Then the n plus first person, which is a wife, that is selected to guarantee that a married couple has been selected. So we can say here that n plus 1, this is the smallest number to guarantee that a married couple has been selected. So two things we can say about this principle. We have to state these two things. One is, if n objects are put into n boxes and no box is empty, if n objects are put into n boxes and no box is empty, then each box contains exactly one object. If n objects are put into n boxes and no box is empty, then each box contains exactly one object. And the second thing we have to mention here is, if n objects are put into n boxes and no box gets more than one object, then each box has an object in it. So if we refer to this application number 2, if we select n people in such a way that we have selected at least one person from each married couple, then we have selected exactly one person from each couple. So listen again, if we select n people in such a way that we have selected at least one person from each married couple, then we have selected exactly one person from each couple. And if we select n people without selecting more than one person from each married couple, then we have selected at least one, or we can say exactly one person from each couple. So as in terms of sets and functions, we can formulate more abstractly these principles. So let us say if we have two sets x and y which are finite sets, and f is a mapping from x to y, so let x and y be finite sets and f is a mapping from x to y, then we can say these three things about this function f. Number one, if x has more elements than y, if x has more elements than y, then what we can say about this function f? This is not 1 1. X has more elements than y, then f is not 1 1. Now we are saying x and y both are finite sets, and the domain set x has more elements than y, then it cannot be 1 1 function. Secondly, if they have same number of elements and f is 1 1, then it is onto also, because if they have same number of elements and f is 1 1 function, 1 1 means no two elements have same image, so f must be onto. That means every element of y has a pre-image. Similarly, if they have same number of elements and the function is 1 1, if the function function is onto, if they have same number of elements and the function is onto, that we are saying each element of y has a pre-image and y has same number of elements as x has, so the function is 1 1. So we can say if x and y have the same number of elements then f is 1 1 if and only if it is onto. Now we come to application 3 of this principle. So in application 3, let us take m integers. Let us say a1, a2, am. These are the m integers. Then there exist integers k and l lying between 0 and m, such that the consecutive numbers out of the sequence a1, a2, an, consecutive numbers ak plus 1, ak plus 2 up to al, that is divisible by m. So firstly I write this: given m integers, let us say a1, a2, am, these are given any integers, then we have to show that there exist integers k and l such that k and l lying between 0 to m, and they are not equal. So if we assume they are not equal, that means we can assume k is less than l because one of them is lesser than the other, such that then we have to show that the numbers from this list ak plus 1 plus ak plus 2 plus up to al, because we are taking k less than l, so ak plus 1 will occur firstly, then al. So we will prove that this is divisible by m. Or if we want to state this in less formal manner, then we can say there exist consecutive a's, there exist some consecutive a's. For example, this is the given sequence a1, a2, am, and these are the consecutive a's in this sequence ak plus 1, ak plus 2 up to an. So we can say that there exist consecutive a's in the sequence a1, a2, am whose sum is divisible by m. So to prove this, let us consider the m sums. Consider the m sums a1, the second sum is a1 plus a2, and the third is a1 plus a2 plus a3, and so on, and the last one is a1, a2 up to am. So we consider these m sums. The first sum is sum of only the first term, second sum is sum of the first two terms, third is sum of first three terms, and so on. The last term is sum of all the terms. If any of these sums is divisible by m, if any of these sums divisible by m, then there is nothing to prove. But let us assume that all these sums are not divisible by m. If all these sums are not divisible by m, that means when we divide all these sums, then we have a non-zero remainder. And when we divide a number by m, then remainder can be either 1, 2, 3 or up to m minus 1 if it is non-zero. Since we have m different numbers, a1, a1 plus a2, a1 plus a2 plus a3 and so on, we have m different numbers and we have only m minus 1 different remainders. So at least two of these numbers have same remainder when we divide them by m. At least two of these numbers have the same remainder when we divide these by m. So we can find two different integers k and l such that out of these sums, two different sums, the first is a1 plus a2 plus a3 up to ak and the second is a1 plus a2 a3 up to al. These two sums have the same remainder when we divide these by m. That means their difference will have remainder 0 when we divide them by m. So that means their difference, which is equal to ak plus 1, ak plus 2 up to al, that will be divisible by m. So we can write this proof: if any of these sums is divisible by m, then result is proved. So let us assume that none of these sums divisible by m. So if none of these sums is divisible by m, that means they have a non-zero remainder when we divide them by m. So suppose each of these sums is not divisible by m. So they have non-zero remainder when divided by m. That is, they have remainders either 1, 2, 3 or m minus 1. But we are saying that these are m different numbers and there are only m minus 1 different remainders. So at least two of them have the same remainder because of the pigeonhole principle. So two of the sums have same remainder when we divide them by m. That means there exist integers k and l, let us say with k less than l, because these two sums are different, such that a1 plus up to ak and a1 plus up to al, they have same remainder when we divide them by r. So their difference, because we are assuming k is less than l, so their difference, which is actually ak plus 1 plus ak plus 2, such that this have same remainder when divided by m. Therefore this number have remainder 0 when divided by m, or we can say this is divisible by m. So this is how we can prove this application. So let us illustrate this argument. Let us take this example that m is 7. Let us take m is 7 and we take the integers a1, a2, a3 and so on be our integers. Let us say 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, 5 and 6. Let us take this sequence. Then corresponding to this sequence, we consider the sequence a1, a1 plus a2, a1 plus a2 plus a3, then a1, a2, a3, a4, then plus a5, then plus a6, then plus a7. So this is the sequence, and when we divide these numbers by 7, we get the remainders 2 from this, 6 from this. Then when we divide 12 by 7, we get the remainder 5, and then we divide 15 by 7, we get the remainder 1, then so on 6, 4 and 3. So we get two remainders are same, at least two remainders will be same, and these two remainders will be corresponding to a1 plus a2 corresponding to this term and corresponding to this term a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus a4 a5. So a1 plus a2 and a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus a4 a5, they have same remainders. That means their difference, and that difference will be a3 plus a4 plus a5, that is divisible by 7, which means 6 plus 3 plus 5. So that's why we can conclude 6 plus 3 plus 5, which is actually 14. So this is divisible by our m. That means 7. Now we have another application of the principle. Now in this application, a chess master we will consider more applications of this principle in the next video.